I mean, there's no description of what happened that doesn't end with the Democrats' cake. That is clear and unambiguous. But that may not matter because the larger context of, in particular, the Trump administration suing to prevent SNAP payments being paid, plus the Obamacare premiums going through the roof, which again, the Democrats, the one thing they got was forcing a vote on that. Those two things are hitting people really, really hard. If the Democrats were competent, not something I would, like guarantee or anything like that, but if they were, from now until election day, they would run ads in every swing state in America about the Trump administration suing to prevent SNAP payments being made. Like every day, you shouldn't be able to turn on your TV and not see that.
So where do they go from here? I mean, a lot of people were seeing the shutdown as their primary leverage point.
Yeah, so in terms of actual policy outcomes, it was their primary leverage point. But what that really shows you is they had no leverage because everyone in DC knew that this is how it was going to end. Right? There wasn't like ambiguity that at some point the Republicans were going to vote to improve to cut healthcare premiums. That just was never going to happen. So they don't have policy leverage. What they have is political leverage. They're basically just trying to force Republicans to do things that are going to hurt them in the midterms. They did that, like successfully, not necessarily through any particular skill of their own, but just because of the situation the Republicans had put themselves into. And that, I think, worked for them. And now, of course, with everything else that's happening in the news, that is just falling into their hands right at the moment.
And I guess, Gautam, for the Democrats, I mean, I guess one of the key data points just from the last several weeks is the really strong wins for them in New Jersey and Virginia. How is that kind of playing out in Washington, do you think, within the party?
So I think there's always an argument, right, over because there are going to be people saying, well, that Mamdani is the future, and other people saying that, no, it's Sherrill and Spanberger. I think the lesson the party is likely to take is simpler, and it's this: run candidates who fit their district. Right? Like that's easy. That is not a complicated, that this was not ideological, that Mamdani won in the one of the two most liberal cities in America. Spanberger and Sherrill won in blue, but trending swing states. Like these are states where they found a candidate who fit the district and it worked and they won by blowout margins. And the second one is just that, look, Donald Trump is really unpopular. Those numbers are getting worse. And on the issue that's currently dominating the news, Jeffrey Epstein stuff, he runs numbers so bad that they're like the opposite of Saddam Hussein, right? like even Republicans are sort of saying, wait, this is bad. And the more you look at what's happening, right? So the more you look at what's happening, the worse it looks. The most important force in politics, the thing that everybody doesn't engage with, is that most people do not pay attention to politics. Right? If you are listening to this discussion, you are not a normal American in terms of your engagement with politics. That's just the way it is. So this is one of those things where most people are not paying attention, but when they do, for whatever reason, the way the Trump administration is acting, like it's not possible to appear more guilty looking than this. It just can't be done. And so that, I suspect those numbers are going to get worse. And this is an issue people care about.
So what level of pressure are Republicans under right now? I mean, you've kind of mapped out what it looks like, especially as we did see these races and the results here, but we are looking ahead to the midterms.
Yeah. The pressure's starting to ramp up. So the results from the November, the elections we just had, were enough that they would almost certainly give Democrats control of the House, but Republicans would almost certainly keep control of the Senate. Right. So that's pressure. But if you are 95% of House Republicans, it means your seat was going to be safe. If you're 90% of Senate Republicans, your seat was going to be safe. So, it's not fun being in the minority, but if you're basically self-interested, that's not a catastrophe. But the numbers keep trending in that way, right? +7 Democrat is about the tipping point where you start to see districts that we don't normally think of as swing districts start to fall. +8, +9, +10, and you start to see even districts we think of as safe starting to fall, and you start to see maybe things like the gerrymander in Texas fall apart. At that point, Republicans are looking at a catastrophe. They're looking at something that looks like 2008, and it might be worse. And it's hard for me to see what's the macro factor that's cutting in their sort of benefit right now, right? Your previous guest was talking about the AI, what he doesn't know if it's a bubble or not, but these valuations seem awfully high. If that turns and I were a Republican, I'd be really scared if if we get more revelations from the FBI files about Epstein. I would be terrified.